All right, we are back with another Pasadena Planetary Qualifier game. Had a little bit of time, so I thought I'd cast another one of these. Shout out right off the bat to Force Throw a Devastator and their YouTube channel. They were kind enough to upload some of these raw VODs and let me cast over a couple of them. So I've got their channel linked down below. Go check them out. And let's get into it. We have a really interesting match here. Now, neither of these players ended up making the top 8. They both did fairly well from what I understand, but I just thought the matchup of Fennec Tarkintown versus Qi'Ra was going to be interesting, right? This Fennec player, again, did pretty well in the tournament, and we've seen some double cunning Fennec lists succeed and do okay, but I haven't seen a ton of Fennec Tarkintown yet, so I'm curious how this one's going to play out. Pretty standard start with the A-Wing into the Pershing on the other side, but I'm curious where we're going to see the ambush go, right? Fennec has this ability to ambush a card that's 4 or less. You have to pay 1 extra for it, but a lot of times that can give you some really interesting on-attack trigger sequences. So I've always liked the leader, and I'm excited to see how it does in this matchup. I have not seen these games yet, so we'll see how it goes. Got the attack from the A-Wing, of course, off the bat. Now, Qi'Ra can be very difficult for aggro to overcome because she's got this way about her with this Qi'Ra command list of being able to weather the storm, essentially, right? And not in as much of a control way. A lot of the best Qi'Ras I've seen play it in sort of a high-end mid-rangey kind of way, right? Where it's like you take a little bit of damage early, you're out there drawing with Pershing, right? But then you come back with these big board clears, these big heals, and it just becomes really, really difficult to stop when you get to that big blue late game. There's a super laser tech. Yeah, we're ramping here. And the leader operates interestingly, too, because Qi'Ra doesn't really operate as a threat that comes out on the board and hits you, right? That can happen. The grit can enable that. But really what she does best is just kind of be a big event that makes the entire board on the other side a lot softer here. But back to the game, we've got the Rebel Operative being played on the Fennec side of things. So that's just a really nice, effectively 4/4 when it attacks with that raid too. The Saboteur is great. I loved running this card in Sabine Cunning back in the day, so glad to see it in use here.
Let's go ahead. I'll do Fennec effect.
Ooh, Fennec effect. All right. And hey, when you pull a showcase Fennec, you got to build the deck, right? So 3 resources. What's it going to be? Oh, I love this. So the Fleet Lieutenant comes out. And the interesting thing with this is that you can have it buff itself and then be able to attack for 5.
I'll swing 6 to base.
But he's going to go 6 to base instead. So being very aggressive with this. I mentioned the other option because it's something that's kind of overlooked a lot of times. And now he's able to trade into Pershing for 3 more damage. That puts Pershing down to 1, which makes it, lethal if Pershing searches for another card here next turn or draws another card. Not really searching, I suppose. But I really like that a lot. And that's just one of the things that Fennec can do well is, like I said, create a lot of these really interesting triggers, right? Where the Fleet Commander comes in or Fleet Lieutenant comes in, buffs something, and attacks. You get so much value for 4 resources. That is absolutely worth it. Another 3 damage from the Green Wing or the A-Wing, the Green Squadron A-Wing. Why? I'm waking up apparently yet today here. Qi'Ra coming out early. Okay. And the thing is it's hard to argue with this, right? Because the board is pretty big on that side, and so you got to do something about it, right? And this does effectively heal Pershing a little bit too, which is kind of an interesting side bonus. My nemesis in this game likes to play a lot of Qi'Ra, so I've played against the list a lot of times, much to my detriment, but it is a good list. Now, the interesting thing with Qi'Ra, too, is that you're kind of setting yourself up, I was going to say, for Tarkintown. So, it does kind of allow our Fennec player to finish off Pershing with Tarkintown. Was that worth it? Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's good to deny Qi'Ra the card draw, but at the same time, it's time will tell, right? That's one that I'm kind of concerned about. The Devastating Gunship comes down. This has been such a great addition for the Qi'Ra list and for a lot of blue lists in general, just to come out and get to defeat something and then have another unit with grit that, pairs well with Kira's ability. Really, really great card. Can also handle that A-Wing with ease, right? So the Qi'Ra deck, you can see, kind of swinging things back around. But that said, already 12 damage on base. So a little bit of damage done, a decent amount, but nothing that this Qi'Ra player isn't equipped to heal through. So, already I'm a little bit concerned about our Fennec player. we'll see what else they have up their sleeve. I do see that K2SO in hand. I see the surprise strike, the Plo Koon. I believe that might be a for a cause I believe in. Fennec ability again. Yeah, and going to charge the K2 into Qi'Ra. 2 overwhelm, like you hear the player saying there, and then 3 more damage on the base there. So the Fennec player really just doing the aggro player thing and trying to pump as much damage as possible into this Qi'Ra player's base. Is that going to be enough, though? The A-Wing not going to get to swing as the devastating gunship comes through and takes that out. I do wonder a little bit. Maybe there would have been a better, a little bit better option to sequence things to get a little bit more damage in. It is what it is. Oh, and Power of the Dark Side just ready and waiting for that Fennec leader. That is rough. I mean, Fennec at a 4/4, that's one of the biggest detriments for this deck is that she can be removed early. And obviously Power of the Dark Side doesn't care about, health or anything like that. But, you just kind of don't expect the Fennec to last very long. And when you're playing against this blue deck, any number of things can take it out, right? Not even Power of the Dark Side. Takedown can do it, So it is one of those leaders that is a bit more on the fragile side, which kind of pushes people away from running her as often. But we're already definitely seeing the effectiveness of the ambush here, right? So that is nice at least. Still 17 damage on the base, and there's going to be Millennium Falcon. Yeah, going in there with the ambush. Taking a little bit of damage, but that does take out the devastating gunship, and that is another thing for Qi'Ra to have to worry about.
6 as well. Vigilance, I will defeat heal 5.
Well, not worry about it too long. As a Vigilance hits the board and the heal comes through, and here's where as the aggro player, you're staring down this Qi'Ra. They've got 12 damage on their base, sure, but you have nothing on the board. Your Tarkintown has been used. You've got 2 cards in hand. How in the world do you come back? Looking through the resources, I see a blaster in there. So a little bit of options to surprise with some damage, but still, that's pretty rough. It's a little bit. Speaking of rough, it's a little bit difficult to see the numbers on the counter here. So I'll do the best I can, but that is a little bit blurry. I know in the official tournament rules it is, I believe, mandated that the damage is shown on base, and I guess this is a way to do it. But man, for watching on stream, that's a little bit tough here.
2 damage.
For a cause I believe in comes in, and only rolls 2 damage. Yikes. Hitting that daring raid and the surprise strike with the top 4 is not ideal. Not ideal at all. I'm going to top deck a little bit at least, but man, the Qi'Ra player, no doubt in trouble. Just that Ketsa Onyo, another Rebel Operative, I believe it is, in the hand. Got a glimpse for just a second here. So what are you going to do? What top end does this Fennec have? I mean, I would assume maybe you're running like the Fennec Shand unit. You're probably running the Han Solo unit, which is quite strong. Maybe you're running the new Emphas Nest here too. It's hard to say.
Sure.
There's Vader, though, not even needing to ambush, just going for the search right away. And, the rich just get richer, right? I mean, the Qi'Ra player here having another opportunity to put another unit on the board. What's it going to be? I don't mind the Pike Sentinel here, but no, it's going to be the Magna Guard. Yeah, so getting a nice 3/4 conditional Sentinel on the board again. As it's played, it can choose itself, make itself a Sentinel. Could make Vader a Sentinel as well, I believe.
I'm good.
And so, like I said, a lot of numbers on the board right now for that Qi'Ra player, and yeah, how in the world do you come back as the Fennec? I wanted to believe. And this match is far from over. I don't know who wins this, and I do know this Fennec player did pretty well in the tournament overall. I think this is a tough matchup, to be sure, but gotta wait and see what happens with the other games here before I make some sort of like a leap to a conclusion, I suppose. Another Rebel Operative comes out, but that is a fairly easily deal-withable 2/4 from the Qi'Ra player's perspective here. Oh, that's a Maul in the hand too, so yeah, it's gonna be a little bit rough. I mean, we could see a number of different things from the Qi'Ra player, right?
I'm trying to think, I know what you drew. Just what else do you have?
We could see as our Qi'Ra player decides. We could just see the Maul come through, just throwing the damage. There's 7 resources exhausted. Is that going to be it? Yeah, it is going to be the Maul.
No Underworld, so he's just gonna eat it.
And yep, I mean, you don't mind taking 2 damage back on that Maul at all, right? And that's actually the first 3 damage of HP. Okay, never mind. The numbers are a little bit bigger on that counter than I thought they'd be, so that's actually not too hard to read. 3 damage on base here, and that's just a start, right? Because we've got another 3-4 on board. We've got the Darth Vader at 5-7 on board as well. I'm trying to remember the exact name of that Magna Guard. Something Magna Guard, but doesn't matter.
Okay, we trade. What would you like your win?
Oh, okay. All right. So that's actually not too bad. Fennec ability to get the K2SO to trade into the Maul. So it's at least that's 1 threat off the board. A little bit more damage on the base of the Qi'Ra player.
Play Inferno 4.
Inferno 4. Yep, why not? Just a little bit more searching. Ooh, manages to check out that overwhelming barrage. Yeah, I think you'd leave that on top for sure. There's a Ketsa Onyo. You know, not that you even necessarily need it, but now we're looking at, okay, how can we go about getting lethal here? Ketsa obviously taken out very quickly. Initiative taken, man, and this Qi'Ra player just on the ropes right now.
These are your PQ promos.
Hey, the PQ promos have arrived. Hey, that's great. Feeling a little bit better in game 1 there. All right, that's not bad. That is a beautiful invisible hand, by the way. I put it in my Watt Tambor deck immediately. If you're new to the channel, that's right. I've been working on a Watt Tambor list here, so pray for me, because it's not easy to make it work. But man, it's so much fun. Watt's ability is so good, though. There's got to be a good deck in there somewhere, right? Oh, calculating Magna Guard. That's right. It finally came back to me. I knew it was something like that. I was like, Guardian Magna. Calculating Magna Guard. Another for a cause I believe in. Oh, a miss. Hit, and a miss. Another 2 damage. Wow. I'm starting to kind of, I mean, maybe he's just very unlucky, but I'm starting to kind of have some dubious thoughts about including this for a cause I believe in this list. If you play it twice in one game and you get a total of 4 damage, I think it's time to start reconsidering if you want to run that card or not. You know, maybe, I mean, I would assume that that's just bad luck, right? Because again, you know, I go back to the Sabine Cunning thing, and you can miss a little bit with that too, but you know, it looks rough. It looks rough. I wonder if the ratio is good enough to warrant running that. Apparently, this player thinks it is. And again, you know, they performed well in the tournament. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to check this game out. But unfortunate draws for those first for a cause I believe in. Those first 2. And well, on the Qi'Ra side of things, you've really kind of got everything going your way, you know?
Might as well.
Got some damage on your base. Do a little bit of trading here, but you know, again, you're fairly safe at this point. Daring Raid the base, yeah, just trying to get every little bit of damage in you possibly can. 21 damage. So to be fair, there's only 9 damage left on base. You've seen 1 Vigilance played already, and 5 to base there, and so that's going to bring our Qi'Ra player up to, or our Fennec player rather, up to 16. Devastator, or Relentless, my bad, Relentless. I'm so used to just, you know, automatically saying Devastator whenever I see a green Star Destroyer hit the board. It's been a little while since I've seen a Relentless, but this is going to make, you know, obviously events very difficult to play. 2 for a cause already played, so, you know, maybe enough of that is on the deck that's not going to make a big deal, but the Daring Raid kind of included in that too, and what's it going to be? You know, can our Fennec player summon 9 damage out of the ether here to finish off Qi'Ra in game 1? I mean, you know, if those for a cause had gone a little bit better, if there'd be 4 more damage on base at 25, I'd say it's not impossible, right? But with 9 damage to go, it's going to be a little bit rough. I'd love to be proved wrong, but we'll see. Because you know, if you can get a character to stick, that's really the tricky part, right? If you can get a character to stick, then you can, you know, use the blaster that you've gotten the resources, things like that. But getting anything to live, you know, long enough to attack here is going to be pretty tough. All right, there's Cassian Andor. What's Vader got to say about that? I wonder. Yeah, it's like, oh, going to the base. All right. Okay. Because the thing is, Surprise Strike doesn't do it. Hotshot Blaster doesn't really do it. That's going to be, 5 damage to the base, I would imagine. So that takes him to 26. 8 damage into base here, and that's it. Yeah, just had it with space there. Yeah, so close. And so we're going to be moving on to game 2 pretty quick here. Nice thing about these VODs is that I believe they are mostly sliced up to avoid any downtime. There we go. Into game 2. So, that Relentless had an effect, right, where, maybe it made it a little bit tougher to do like the Andor and the Surprise Strike, that kind of thing, but that still wouldn't have been enough damage. And, you got to go back a little bit to those for a cause I believe in, right? I mean, yeah, that would have been a little bit more damage on base. That might have been able to pave the way to a victory for the Fennec in game 1. It was close-ish. It was close-ish. Enough to make me believe, right? This Fennec can take the series, but it's going to have to come down, I think, to some of the sideboard cards coming in. We'll have to see what the option is going to be. Oh, and you saw that top target in the hand for the Qi'Ra player, too. So, that's probably something that came in from the sideboard, knowing most Qi'Ra lists. And so, something that, again, is going to help that Qi'Ra just live a little bit longer. Another Dr. Pershing in the hand. Good turn 1 play. And Qi'Ra in the hand of the Fennec player, actually. So the Cunning Qi'Ra unit is going to come in to theoretically take a look at the hand in the Qi'Ra leader players side of things and make something a little bit too expensive to play. Well, we'll see how it all shakes up. Looks like it's going to be a mulligan, though, for our Fennec Shan player. Again, I see why they're playing it, right? Because Fennec Shan is just one of those leaders that has just always been on the edge of being, I think, really good. And to be fair, I think it's one of those leaders that you're going to go back and look set by set and review, right? Where with an ability as good as Fennec has, you're going to go back and check to see, all right, are there enough lower cost units with great on attacks that if I ambush them, I can get a big benefit from? This is a leader that's going to just continue to get better over time. And I think as more cards come out in Star Wars Limited, it's important to keep that in mind, right? Is that there are some leaders that may not be good now, but as they develop more support, they're going to get a little bit harder to deal with. A little bit better to play in. I think Fennec is on that list, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at the second hand here. Ooh, the Assault Ship as well. So a little bit of power and space there. I think in this matchup, though, yeah, I'm not too surprised that one hit the resources. Deciding. Ooh, the Bamboozle. Bamboozle's an interesting one to resource, as we see the Sabine Wren hit the ground, and there's the Pershing. Bamboozle can, in theory, get rid of the shield tokens that Qi'Ra puts on things. Is that worth 2 resources? It depends on the situation, I suppose, but something to consider. Not a lot of Bamboozles being run main board these days, so I wonder if that was brought in from the sideboard as sort of a, well, maybe kind of situation. And Sabine, yeah, 3 to base. I think you do just have to put the damage into base. You're playing aggro. You get into the weeds with, trying to deny this Pershing a couple draws. I mean, you're just not going to make it work, so. Yeah, I think you definitely have to do it. Oh, and there's a wing leader. Okay. Not bad. That's a great second play for this Fennec Shan player. You buff the Sabine, right? But you also protect yourself against Power of the Dark Side, which I think is very important here, too. Because if they play that, you just ditch the wing leader. It's okay. It's done its job, But if it lives, it's always nice to have a 2-1 in space. All right, so resupply, and looks like a Lom Pike. Found off the top from that Inferno 4. What's going to go on top? What's going to go on the bottom? Are they going to bottom deck both? I really love Lom Pike just in general, but I think the thought here is that it might be a little bit too slow for the matchup.
Put a top target on Sabine.
Yeah, top target on Sabine. We talked about that a little bit earlier. The top target is going to be one of those cards that's going to help you keep up in life. That heal is just a lot, It's a lot when you're running a very kind of low to the ground, slim margins aggro deck where you kind of have to just finish them off before they really kind of get online. Which is very difficult to do against a deck like this Qi'Ra. Going into resource turn 4. So Fennec can flip on resource turn 4. That is something to think about. That said, takedown is a card. So You're always a little bit worried. I mean, you're about as worried as you are, when you're playing Sabine, I suppose. Although losing access to that ambush that Fennec gives you is a little bit scary. Because when she flips, you get to do it for free. You don't have to pay for that. So her getting taken out right after flipping can mess up your turn if you're planning on ambushing something that costed the exact amount of resources.
Okay, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 into base.
Wow. Check that out. Another wing leader, buffing that Sabine even more. So that is 7 into base, 10 damage already there. It's okay. Pershing for the draw. And the thing is, that other wing leader in the air is just annoying, right? It's either going to get rid of the Inferno 4, or it's going to just be another 2 damage ping, right? That's just going to keep poking away at the base. I think it's difficult sometimes to look at the Fennec Shan deck and think to yourself, why isn't this Sabine cunning? Why am I not running something else that has a little bit more success? The Han Tarkintown list, for instance, that won this PQ. But I go back to the showcase thing, right? All right, Qi'Ra on the 1/4 to give it that shield, to give it a little bit of grit.
So now it's a 4/2.
The Enforcer. I can't remember the name of the alien. I'm so bad with card names sometimes. You when you play a game mostly, you're just like, oh yeah, it's that card. You don't think about the name. Hyloban Enforcer. That's what it is. It's all coming back to me now. Yeah, I get the shield on there from the Qi'Ra ability, and so like I was saying, it goes back to the showcase stuff. It's the reason I keep playing Boba too. So I pulled the showcase, and it's fun, right? I think we got the same thing going on here. He pulled the showcase, and Fennec is fun. It's a fun list to play. So, if you practice it enough times, you can do well, and that's what we're seeing a bit of right now. It's fun to see something a little bit more unique. What's the plan here on resource turn 5? So the Fennec was not flipped. And so...
1 for Fennec action.
Oh, okay. All right. And is this going to be a K2SO?
To ambush Qi'Ra.
Qi'Ra. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Taking out the Pike Sentinel. Okay. And then what's the hand going to be? Ooh, oh man, that is a terrifying hand. The Overwhelming Barrage. Vigilance? I mean, there's a Perilous Position and a Power of the Dark Side too, so every one of those cards is a bad day for our Fennec player. This is a tough choice, man. I'm glad I don't have to choose. Yeah. Okay. I like choosing the Perilous Position, honestly. Reason being, you really just want to get another attack with this Sabine through. That is the main thing that the Fennec player needs to do right now. Oh, did he just...
I'm not perilous.
I was going to say, yeah, you can't... Yeah. That's a little bit too expensive these days.
Yeah, right.
6 resources, only 5, yeah.
I'm gonna
Whoops. You pick Perilous Position, then they try to do it to you anyway.
1 top, 1 bottom.
All right.
Okay. I will go ahead and swing Sabine Wren. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Another 7 damage onto the base from the Sabine. That Sabine has done 14 so far, I believe. And then I think the original 3 as well. I think that Sabine has done all the damage to the base this game. Flip Qi'Ra? Ooh, second guessing.
Yeah, still hard, huh?
Second guessing, because it doesn't...
Okay,
it
let's
doesn't
take out Qi'Ra.
kill the Sabine. Yeah, going to kill the Qi'Ra. That's going to let him Perilous Position the Sabine, but it's already attacked, so you do just wait until
Believe it or not,
the
Sabine
next
is
turn,
causing
possibly.
problems. 14 damage on 1 unit. And I can play Perilous now, correct?
Yes.
That is a lot of damage, and yeah, that Perilous Position does go back to its normal cost now that the Qi'Ra has been removed. So it feels kind of bad to play it on the Sabine after you've already, taken the damage from it. But I guess it kind of depends. Like, what's the next turn going to look like, right? Is there something where you're going to want to spend those 3 resources on something else next turn?
Sure.
Oh, and there's the Fennec Shan. So I like this Fennec flip right here. I think it's kind of the only move the Fennec player can do besides grab initiative. But at the same time, you are kind of telling your opponent, hey, maybe you want to Perilous this instead. Avoid 4 damage, possibly. It's a little bit of a bait, too, but look at this. All right, Overwhelming Barrage, and that's going to do a good amount of damage. Yep, 1 damage to the Sabine, but it is going to send the Fennec right back to the leader zone. Like I said, that Fennec doesn't tend to live a lot. So yeah, at least you got the OB out, I guess. But
1 damage.
it's rough, right? I mean, when he looked at that hand with Qi'Ra, as an aggro player myself, I was like, oh no. None of those cards are cards I want to see as cards coming at me in the future
That was
turns.
dumb of me.
Let's deploy.
No,
Yikes.
Yeah.
What'll it be?
Because then you'd have to play the Qi'Ra.
Is he gonna? We still have that
Well, either
Tarkintown
way,
available
I would deploy
too.
Here and then IOB.
Yeah,
And it would be a
but
ready
still,
unit.
I'd get the swing.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you could still paralyze me.
And the players talking
It's just
through the
choosing
turns right
OB
now.
or paralyze.
This was one of the earlier Swiss rounds in the tournament, I believe, and man, it was so much fun playing at this Planetary Qualifier. I didn't do so great myself, but
Okay.
I just got to meet a lot of great people, play a lot of really fun games.
No, well, it has 1 health.
2,
Shout out to
5,
Odyssey Games in Pasadena
4,
for
6.
hosting a great event.
I'll just do that right
And there's a Tarkintown activation, and that's going to do 5 total to the Hylabin Enforcer. So it's going to die at the end of turn anyway.
Yeah, 'cause I think I can
But
do
for
it.
the purposes of game state, technically
Shows
that's
you how
where we're
much
at right
I'm
now.
getting Qi'Ra.
5 damage on it because it is currently 2 health over right now. It's currently a 6 health
Should be
unit,
safe to play it out.
which is sometimes applicable, but most times the local you'll just see people remove it. But hey, we're playing serious at the PQ, so you gotta get the damage right.
I claim.
Pershing for another draw,
Let's
and
deploy.
okay, we're gonna see the Qi'Ra flip.
1. So you were at 6.
Oh,
so,
man.
Well, heals.
I'm at 7.
And
So you take
I
3
take 3
damage.
that
And
is
takes
going
1.
to that is
6
gonna
total.
is that gonna put the Hylabin Enforcer at a survivable level of health? I think it might.
That's so
It
funny.
will.
I know, yeah.
Oh, that's so troll.
it's
I mean,
4.
but the thing is, I say
It
that,
has to
but
go.
the thing is,
It has to go.
could
He's a
you,
menace, dude.
is it necessarily
Oh,
that
6
the
is
the Tarkintown forced the Qi'Ra flip, or was the plan the Qi'Ra flip all along because you want to trade into the Sabine either way?
So this goes away.
That might have been a little bit of a feels bad Tarkintown there. Certainly feels bad now. Either way, Qi'Ra player seizing control of the game, I would say right now. Only 11 damage on base. So, by this point in the last game, there was a little bit more, on base here. Let's see. So we've got that. What do we got? Surprise Strike K2SO. A couple other things in the hand there. Red 3. And that last one there, is that? I can't tell if that's Spark of Rebellion or Spare the Target. One of the two, I think. Fennec, I've got a feeling the K2SO is going to come in here. Yep.
I'm going to K2 into Pershing. So you
Yeah.
take 1 over.
All right, yeah, so 1 overwhelm there. And then no damage on the K2SO. So this does kind of incentivize our Qi'Ra player to have to use a card or attack the Hylabin Enforcer in to remove the K2SO. So you're hoping to go 2 for 1 here if you're the Fennec player. I think that's probably a wise move. That said, a lot of events in the hand. A lot of events in the hand that can deal with this too. Such as you could Overwhelming Barrage again here. Yeah, why not?
K2.
Takes out K2 and it lets you get a bigger attack in on base. A little bit of damage on base.
Cards in hand?
Not too bad.
3 damage.
That's our second Overwhelming Barrage as well.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, up to 15 damage on base because of the K2SO when defeated ability. Do a little bit more damage.
6 base.
6 base is good.
I will pass.
The camera on the right is getting a little bit wobbly. So 6 damage on base here for our Fennec player. 15 on base for Qi'Ra. As the Qi'Ra tries to go for a 2-0 in this series. Now, Fennec with still some surprises up her sleeve yet. There is a 4 cause, I believe, in the hand. Now, 2 of those were played in game number 1 and only resulted in 4 damage total. So that was a bit rough. Maybe this time it'll be different. Thinking through the options, that K2SO out of the way. The red 3 just it feels a little bit lackluster to play on its own. But with no other units in hand, it's tempting. That said, you can go for this 4 cause, stack your hand a little bit. Hits for 4 that time. Okay, much better. Much better that time around. And so what will you put on top here? I think you've got some old standards, right? You've got the Fleet Lieutenant. The Plo Koon is not too bad. I don't know if you need another red 3. Fleet Lieutenant is decent. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, so keeping the Falcon and the Fleet Lieutenant on top.
And the top is a Falcon and a Fleet Lieutenant.
And then the Foracaws will result in 4 damage. That's right, as we can see there. 10, though, on the side of the Fennec player. Remember, you're starting with 5 less base health, right? With Tarkintown. So just 15 remaining here. And the red 3 hits the board. Vigilance removes it again right away. Also removes one of those 5 damage counters. And that's a big comeback turn for this Qi'Ra player here. That's rough. Decisions. So a lot of answers in the hand here. I think, is that a Vader I caught a glimpse of in the hand maybe too? Yeah, going back to resource turn 8 now for each player here. There's a Cassian Andor in the resources, getting a glimpse of that. And the Cassian Andor comes out. All right. You know, the thing is, that does put the Fleet Lieutenant into the resources instead of into the hand, I believe. So that hurts a little bit. Oh, no. That was the, my bad. That was the Falcon. Oh, so that was actually arranged very well then. Vader comes out, and that's going to make Cassian Andor take a bit of a hit the trash here. But I did like that little bit of sequencing there for the Fennec player to arrange it in a way that the Cassian Andor would bring the Falcon into resources as a replacement for the smuggle ability. The Falcon, of course, having smuggle. You know, speaking of Falcons, I wonder if we're going to see the Spark of Rebellion legendary Falcon from set 1 here. I would imagine it's got to be in this deck, right? It's just too good of a card not to include, I think. And we've got that Vader on the board now, brings in another Pike Sentinel. So once again, that Qi'Ra board just starting to look a little bit too much to overcome. Game's not over yet, but it's a challenging spot to be in. You know, maybe there's a situation where the Falcon can come out of resources and, you know, just be the threat in the air that the Qi'Ra player can't deal with. I suppose that's a possibility.
I'm going to pay 3.
Next turn or something like that. Spare the target. Yep, on the High-Level Enforcer, so you do get to draw a card with that too because of the bounty. Yeah, I mean, if you're... I love Spare the Target. It's just like, you know, a nice little waylay with an upside for the heroism decks, you know? And it feels so good when you get to do it on something like a High-Level Enforcer that has that bounty keyword and you get to collect, you know? Shield on the Pike Sentinel. Yeah, you don't like to see it as the aggro player, but, you know, you're going to have to get through it one way or another anyway. So I believe it's 9 resources on the side of the Qi'Ra player now. Looks like staying on, let's see, 3, 5, 8 for Fennec. I believe it may actually be 9 on the side of the Qi'Ra player. Like those card backs are doing kind of like a magic eye puzzle thing with my eyes when I try to count it. Yeah, I think it's 9. Yeah, we're at 9. I can count. I finished first grade. Barely. What's it going to be? From our Fennec player. This looks like a turn where, you know, maybe you do bring the Falcon out of resources. Maybe you do just kind of throw some stuff out on the board here. Yeah, okay. We have Leet. L337 with the shield. So, you know, that's going to be a card that, you know, you can maybe, never mind. I was going to say, maybe you can have it survive long enough to put the buff from the wing leader that he's gotten his hand on it. But the devastating gunship comes down and takes out that 2 or less with the when played. And the Fleet Lieutenant
To the base.
just kind of on its lonesome. Feeling a little bit bad. 2 more damage to base. 12 so far for that Fennec player. There's the Wing Leader. At least you get to make the Fleet Lieutenant a 5/5, I guess. But, you know, really feels like the Fennec player kind of grasping at straws now with only 14 damage on the base of the Qi'Ra. As we are deep into game 2 here.
Power.
Power of the dark side. I mean, you're going to get rid of the Wing Leader, right? I mean, that's really the only choice. You're not going to ditch the 5/5 here. You know, look at the resources again. But there's really not another choice. You know, you really kind of just have to let the smaller unit go here. I mean, that said, though, the Vader can just attack into the Fleet Lieutenant. It'd be a trade, but you know bigger stuff is coming from the Qi'Ra. Okay. He is going to remove the Fleet Lieutenant.
It's very spicy.
Interesting. So I wonder what the logic is there. Because the result is going to be just 5 more damage on your base from the Vader, right? Yeah. Goes up to 17.
And Qi'Ra action.
So you're going to put the shield probably on the devastating gunship, right? And that has grit as well. So now that's going to be hitting for 5. I don't know about that. I really don't know about that decision to get rid of the Fleet Lieutenant. At least you could have absorbed an attack from the Vader, right? You know, you wouldn't have changed what's coming at you in the air, but, you know, maybe the idea is to surprise strike through the air. I mean, the thing is, I can see why they did it, right? There's a Sentinel on the ground, so the Fleet Lieutenant would have a really hard time going through anyway. Maybe the Vader would have just ignored it. Yeah, okay. Upon retrospect, that may have been the better decision. At least it does let you surprise strike here. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You convinced me.
Out of base.
It's more damage on base. So I think in the end that probably was the right decision. That said, 22 health, 22 damage rather, on the 25 health base is going to be rough, right? Yeah, Plo Koon takes the shield off the Pike Sentinel. That's going to be the game, and that's going to be the 2-0 in favor of our Qi'Ra player. And you know, it's tough to expect a different result, I suppose, given the matchup. I wanted to give the Fennec player a chance, and I think they played well, but it's just such a rough matchup to go up against a deck like Qi'Ra when you're playing that low to the ground aggro style. But thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.